Hey guys, Ari here. I'm in sunny Southwest Florida. I spent the last 2 days on the beach and I kind of wanted a day out of the sun today, and I figured it'd be a good day to make this video. So pretty much I'm going to be going to Central America in 5 days, and I want to take you through sort of some of the process I go through to planning the trip and some things I have to do. Uh, a few of the steps I've obviously already done. And the first step when you're going somewhere is to pick a destination. To me, people always ask me, what's your next destination? Where are you going to next? I never know this in advance. It's usually sort of like an intuitive thing. I sort of feel where I want to go. For you, it might be a dream destination, someplace you always wanted to go. Whatever it is, you obviously have to know where you're going to go there. The next step is check visa requirements. Most places are really easy nowadays in the world to go to. There's only a few countries that kind of put a lot of hurdles in front of you. If you have a passport that's American, Canadian, in Western Europe, Australia, you could pretty much go most places, and it's easy to get a visa or you don't even need one. And then step three, this is by far the most important step. It's buy your flight. I get friends that are always asking me to make itineraries for them, to give them travel advice. And I don't want to talk to them until they book their flight, because booking a flight, that's a commitment. And it's just so much easier. Once you buy it, everything else sort of just falls into place, and you're going, and then you do whatever you need to do before then. After you buy your flight, you need to make a route. Sometimes you have to do this a little bit before to figure out where you're actually going to fly. A lot of people, they make all these complicated itineraries. They want to know exactly where they're going to be going during their trip. Yeah, if you're going somewhere for 10 days, you need to do that. But if you're going somewhere for a long time, like I do, you don't need to know the specifics. You just need to know the general direction you're going into. In Asia, I did this big loop around Southeast Asia. I went to South America last year, and I pretty much went down the entire west coast of South America. I was in Spain and Morocco, and I did sort of this figure eight through Spain and Morocco. And I really like having a route to go through. In Central America, it's really easy. It's quite small, and you either go north to south or south to north. I found a really cheap flight to Panama City, and I know it's going to be really easy to get from Mexico back home in a few months. So to me, it was a no-brainer to go in that direction. Now, I don't know the specifics. I don't know if I'm going to, go west and, go towards Mexico City, or I'm going to go east and go towards the Mayan Riviera. But these aren't decisions I have to make right now. Right now, I know I'm flying into Panama City and I'm going north, and that's good enough to start off with. The next thing is you got to get health insurance. This is a no-brainer. I'm all about saving money while you're traveling, but health insurance is not something you skimp on. Catastrophic things could happen, and you want, health insurance that worst come worst is going to fly you home for treatment. I'm from Canada. I use Tugo. I've used World Nomads in the past. I can't really give you a specific recommendation because it's really tailored to what you're doing. Last year I did a lot of extreme sports, so I needed coverage that's going to cover me for rock climbing and for all these things. But yeah, I use Tugo now, and so far so good. And then the other thing is you need to get vaccinated. I didn't need any vaccinations because I already have all the ones I need. But you go to different places in the world, there's different diseases, and people have different thoughts on vaccinations. But to me, it's like I want to be protected against as many things as possible. I might go into a separate video on health while traveling, but the only vaccination I really want to talk about is something not well known. It's called Dukoral, and it's against E. coli. And then you drink it, and then 2 weeks later you drink it again. So it's really non-invasive. And I've gotten E. coli a few times traveling. It's a pain in the ass. And ever since I started taking Dukoral, I haven't got E. coli, and it really helps against food poisoning. So that's just one of the ones I'd recommend. So all these steps I've already done. And now I'm at the point where I have a few more little things to do. I'm 5 days out. I don't have to do them today. I could really do this a day in advance or 2 days in advance, but I kind of have a rest day today where I could get these things done. So the first one's proof of onward travel. A lot of places that you go to, you can't just fly one way in. And this is something the airliner usually checks. So you have to prove that you're actually going to leave the country. Oftentimes you don't get checked, but Panama is a destination where you need this on paper, and it's going to be a lot easier just to have this ready. Now, it's impossible for me to actually have proof of onward travel because I'm going to be going overland to Costa Rica, and I can't get a bus right now from somewhere in Panama to Costa Rica. It's going to be some local bus. This stuff isn't on the internet, and I don't even know when I'm going to do this. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a service called Best Onward Travel, and I'm going to, a day in advance or the day of, I'm going to buy a flight. It's going to be a completely legit flight. They book me a flight that's refundable. I pay only like $14, and 48 hours later, they're going to cancel this flight. But it's a real flight. It's good to show as onward travel. And instead of actually buying a real flight or canceling it or doing anything, you just pay like 10 or 14 bucks. The only thing I will say is you need to Google the service that you're going to use in advance and read a review that's like recent, because I've had a company that I've used before go out of business. And then they still took your money. So I never actually got my ticket. So just Google in advance. But I've had good experiences with Best Onward Travel. The next thing I need to do is I need to figure out how I'm going to get from the airport to the city. Now, I've been to Panama once before and I took a taxi. If a place has, an air link or something like that, that's usually the ideal scenario. But for Panama, I know I either have to take a local bus or I need to take a taxi. Now I'm flying in at 10 at night. I hate flying in late, but it was the best option for me. So I'm not going to take any local transit at night. That just doesn't seem safe to me. And I will take a taxi. I may actually book an airport transfer to have someone waiting to pick me up, because when you take a taxi in places, people try to rip you off, and I'm good at dealing with that, but I don't want to deal with it. That's stressful. So whatever accommodation I end up picking, I may have them actually just provide me an airport transfer. And yeah, it might be a little bit more expensive, but it's worth not having any headaches. And then from there, I have to book the accommodation. And the accommodation is just really two options for me. Is, am I going to get an Airbnb or am I going to get a hostel? Because it's going to be my first few days of the trip, I'm 100% getting a hostel. I'm going to try to pick the hostel that seems to be the biggest, most popular one, because I want to meet a lot of people. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit there the first day. I'm going to meet as many people as possible and ask them for, what have been the most amazing things they've seen on their trip? What are the highlights? And I'm going to get all the info of what I'm going to do on the trip from talking to people. You could do research on the internet, and I did a little bit of it, but it's really not the same. Talking to people is the best way to get travel advice. And I'm also going to see, if they're similar to me, if they like similar things to me. The people that like similar things to me, those are the ones I'm really going to press and get more details from. So I'll figure out what cities to go to, what things to do, where to stay, what are the best hostels or the best guest houses. I'm going to get all that information once I get to Panama. It's a lot easier to get info on the ground than on the internet. And I'm most likely going to, when I book it, I'm going to get an airport transfer. And how I'm going to book it is I'm going to go on Hostel World. I'm going to find the hostel that I'm going to stay at, but then I'm going to contact the hostel directly. Oftentimes, it's a little bit cheaper to book with the hostel directly than to book it on Hostel World or through an aggregator. But I'm going to use the aggregator as sort of the search engine. And that's pretty much it. Those are all the things I'm going to do. And it's also important what not to do. And what I'm not doing is I'm not making a whole itinerary. I'm not planning out past my first few days. And the reason is that if you make an itinerary, you book all these different places, you're then stuck in that. And oftentimes you're going to get there on the ground and the situation is going to change. You might meet some people and want to go somewhere. You might get told that, the place you originally want to go to actually sucks right now, or it's flooded or whatever it is. So I'm not booking anything past, I'm getting my onward ticket, I'm getting to the hostel and I'm booking a hostel, and I'm going to book 2 nights just because I arrived late the first day. And I'm going to need, the first day there to get information, to get a SIM card, get all these sort of little things done, which I'll go into later. But yeah, for just getting someplace and starting my trip, everything I mentioned here, that's all you have to do. And yeah, that's it.